time is a little bit quieter than normal. Let me get OBS started, and we should be good to record. Hey Matt, can you say something just to make sure I can hear you correctly?
Good morning, everybody, or evening, depending on where you are. Is that good?
All right, will you try again, Matt?
Good morning, everybody, again.
Great. All right, let me go get this started. Hello, everybody. Today is February 26, 2021. This is the voice of Aggroed. I'm joined by my partner, Matt. Matt, do you want to say a quick hello?
Hello, everybody.
And today we're doing a Ask Me Anything for the Splinterlands. It's a small crowd. It seems like maybe this Friday morning is not the best time to hop in, but I imagine we'll get some people here. Matt, is there some general stuff that you want to talk about before we kind of kick this off and start answering some questions?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, general stuff we could talk about, stuff that's going on. Obviously, we had the Wax integration that's been going really well. A lot of decent volume on Wax, and I think that's the first time we've had like an external exchange that's had like real volume. And we just right before the AMA announced in the official updates channel and on the blog that we're going to be doing a land sale promotion on Atomic Hub on the Wax blockchain. I know most of you in the game have probably already gotten the land that you want, even potentially at higher discounts than we're offering, but the real goal is to start pushing this heavily to the Wax community. So we're going to work with Atomic Hub, we're going to work with the team behind the Wax blockchain, maybe some other projects on Wax, to just help promote our land sale as just a way of getting people in that community who don't know about Splinterlands or haven't tried it to just come check us out. So that should be good.
One thing I'll note about that, I like to check the top 10 values with some frequency, and I was noticing today that the SL-Wax account is in the top 10, and currently there's $55,000 or $56,000 worth of cards as the secondary market values of them sitting on that account. And that's liquidity that's been removed from the game, and it's on a separate NFT exchange. And I think that's pretty exciting. It's one of the largest accounts now are people interacting with the Wax blockchain. I think that's a nice development.
Yeah, for sure. So I really hope that this is just going to be the very beginning of a lot of integrations and partnerships between us and the Wax ecosystem.
And I forget if I sent this news to you, Matt. Did you see the news that Topps is releasing Garbage Pail Kids and they're getting picked up by Target and Walmart? And I think they're the same cards that are currently trading on Wax.
Like physical ones?
Yeah, they're selling physical cards. So it seems like there's going to be some mainstream value to like Walmart and Target and GPK, and our cards will be on Wax alongside of them. Who knows what that will turn into.
I did not hear that, but that sounds pretty cool.
I'm excited to see that. Other things that you want to talk about just in terms of like general development?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's like just tons of stuff going on with general development. We're really trying to finish up the Guild Wars, and like most things, that'll probably be a phased release. So the initial version of Guild Wars, may not have all the features that will eventually be added to it, but we're still planning to get that out in March, before the end of Q1, and that's Cryptomancer's doing a great job on that. I've been testing the iOS app a bunch, and we're just going through the bug fixing phase, so that's nearly ready to submit for review, which will be nice. And then there's some more stuff going on. I don't know if we want to necessarily talk about all that yet, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of development stuff. Also, obviously the land, the first phase of the land where you can redeem your claims for the actual NFTs and see them on the map and all that stuff. We're still working through designs for that. You know, still on track, I think, for Q2 for that part. Yeah, anything else you thought I should mention or you wanted to mention?
No, I think that's a good start. You know, or not a good start. I mean, I think that's a fair level. You know, we tend to be conservative with the things that we share. I have some partnership things that are in the works, and it seems like some of them will be showing up here pretty soon. Some are new developments. Some are expanding old developments. But we're going to wait until those things are public before sort of doing the big stuff there, just kind of announcing all of what's happening. But there's a fair amount. I hope that March will be seen as a pretty busy month for us, and we'll see when we get there. So there are a couple of questions so far. The first one's from Byzantinist. He's asking me, how are the next month of tournaments coming along? When will they be up? Will you be implementing the community voted proposals? I've been going through it, and I think I'm in agreement with everything but one piece. And there was one piece that was asking for the alpha tournaments to go on a monthly schedule rather than a biweekly, which would mean I'd have to go sort of redo or just keep track of way more tournaments than I want. Like right now I keep track of 2 weeks, and this would make me keep track of a whole month. And that would, I don't know, that just gets a lot more complicated on something that's already extremely complicated. So I think I'm going to follow every single piece of advice in there except for that one. And it's not like I'll ignore that one suggestion. I'll tone it back as much as I can to fit into a 2-week schedule rather than a 4-week. But I've been reviewing that. I've been looking through it. I have time later today and sometime on the weekend where I plan on. I got to go back and rework all the numbers for the tournaments. There are things like we want to go switch from the League of Champions. There's 2 per week, and one is an untamed, and one is a wild format. Anything goes. And the committee asked me to go change that so that it's 3 anything goes and 1 untamed. So I'm probably gonna. So all that's a pretty big change to the to the amount of dollar values. So that's going to need all of the numbers reworked. So I'm a little daunted by that, but just generally speaking, with one change that's less philosophical and more of just how do I actually implement this into a 2-week period, I think I'm going to go with all of them. Simply Bank is asking, were there many signups since the connection with the Wax blockchain?
Yeah, so I just was pulling some numbers on that while you were talking about tournaments. Yes, I mean, we saw a clear uptick in signups. It looks like there's been over 160 new accounts sign up that specifically were referred from Wax or Atomic Hub. It's possible there were more signups that didn't use a referral link from there, but over 160 that have in the last week, and over 20% of those have at least purchased the Summoner Spellbook. So I think that's pretty strong numbers for that promotion, which didn't really cost us anything. It wasn't even a promotion yet. We're running the promotion actually starting next week, and we're going to start promoting that. But we didn't, other than within our own community, we didn't really promote anything yet of the Wax integration. Specifically to the Wax community, and we've seen some pretty strong numbers. So I'm hoping that with Atomic Hub and Wax's help promoting, our land sale promotion, that those numbers will increase even more. So yeah, I mean, Wax has always been a pretty great partnership and just source of new players over the past year or so. So yeah, that's been great.
Barjanka is asking, why isn't DEC listed on Coinmarketcap? Yeah, it's not a site that I've checked all that frequently. It's something that I can start looking into to see what it takes to go get these.
Yeah, I think
listed.
that's that's a project we can take on, or someone can take on, just to start reaching out to them and going through whatever steps are necessary to get them to list our stuff. So yeah, it's just we haven't done that, but I guess we could.
Question: Can you guys consider the possibility of putting out limited card art cards exclusively on Wax and include them as airdrops in some ways to either pack buyers, contests, etc.? Dave, it's funny that you mentioned that. Wink, wink, and stay tuned. But let's see. Question: How can Splinterlands compete with other big games and crypto games? Yeah, it's a challenge where it's a space that's heating up. But you know, to me, this space is just still really, really infant. I know that there's like big money and big stuff, and NFTs are hot, but you know, it's still a pretty small ecosystem out there as far as I'm concerned. So, anyways, you know, we just need to keep being out there. We have to keep attracting new users, keep making new partnerships, keep putting out new art, new projects. You know, we have an extremely functional game. It's not uncommon for people to come and be like, you know, I've played everything else, and this is by far the most developed and most fun game on blockchain. So you know, there's more that we can do to get the word out and build our brand, and hopefully that will show. Anything you want to add to how we compete?
Yeah, I mean the general strategy. I think we're already competing pretty well with other blockchain and crypto games, and I think there's also a lot of since it's a very small and not saturated market. There's a lot of opportunity for us to benefit from the growth of other games. So if another game becomes really popular and brings in a lot of people, that also will indirectly benefit us, as some subset of those people will find out about and you know, hopefully try out Splinterlands. So you know, if even if another game like takes off and does really well, you know, before us, that can still really benefit us, and that's part of what we're doing. You know, we try to do partnerships with different platforms and, you know, integrate with different platforms. So, you know, we're kind of out there, and people who are in other games will also hear about and come to Splinterlands.
Biz is asking me a pretty technical question about tournaments. Biz, why don't you and I connect after the AMA? I don't fully understand what you're asking there, and it's getting a little bit detailed for this. So let's just, like I said, I'm willing to go put in nearly all those suggestions. I have like technical complaints, not moral complaints, and then I don't really understand what you're asking. So let's detail that later. And
I mean, it sounds like the main thing is just whether the dollar amount of prizes is fixed or changes, and I think the answer is there's a certain dollar amount of prizes, or you know, more accurately, DEC amount of prizes that we pay out for tournaments every week or month, and that's not planned to change, at least soon.
Well, right, but the distribution of those things are set to change because of all the changes that they're asking. So
right, yeah, but the total amount is pretty set.
Yeah, it might fluctuate like 2% or something just because of rounding errors.
Yeah,
but it's going to be the same. All right, David's asking, would you guys consider making the game also play on Wax so that we have two separate Splinterlands communities playing? They can be separate leagues, but use all the same cards, but players would have to choose to play their cards on one chain or the other.
I mean, so depending upon what you're asking, if you're saying like, are we going to build a new version of the game on Wax, like that the whole thing runs on the Wax blockchain? I mean, that's just really not feasible, you know, considering all the stuff we have to work on the current version of the game. I'm gonna, you know, try to look into if there's a way, you know, people could use cards held on Wax potentially to play the game, but that also gets very complicated, right? Because the game all runs on the Hive blockchain and everything has to work appropriately on the Hive blockchain, and it can't have like, dependencies from other chains that, because that wouldn't, it's hard to say like what a certain block at a certain time on the Hive blockchain, it's hard to prove something on another blockchain. So, my gut feeling is that's going to be way too big and difficult of a project to make sense. And really the purpose of, having Wax and other chains is just exposing the product to different communities and allowing the cards to be traded on different marketplaces. My guess is that a lot of this is just coming from people wanting to keep low mint cards. And if they, have the low mint number card on Wax, they don't want to transfer it into the game and lose that to be able to play it. So they just want to hold it on Wax and keep it there. Unfortunately, I just really think the whole mint number thing on Wax, it doesn't make sense in the context of Splinterlands, because really whatever the mint numbers are on Wax is not the actual mint numbers of those NFTs in the game. So I don't want to like do too much work or, just to try to make it so the mint numbers on Wax mean something when they just really don't in the context of the games. If people want to collect the mint numbers on Wax, that's totally up to them. But as far as we're concerned, it has nothing to do with when those cards were minted in the game. But I've been thinking that considering how popular the mint number thing is on Wax, that potentially in future sets for Splinterlands, we could start keeping track of the actual mint numbers of the cards in the game. So the first person who opens a Chaos Legion pack when that comes out, that could be the first mint of those cards that they get, and we could start keeping track of that. I mean, technically it's possible to go back since the game launched and find all the card mint numbers, from the very first, pack that was opened. But I just, again, from like a technical and time resource perspective, I just don't think that's a project that we have the bandwidth to take on. And it's also like, you have to factor in the rewards for doing that. So it's like how much time and effort we'd have to spend versus like what it really gets us. And I think it's just much better to focus our resources on things like guild tournaments and the land expansion and various other projects right now. So, that's kind of where I'm at on the Wax thing. As far my gut feel is that you'll just always need to transfer them into the game in order to use them there. But if there's anything easy we can do to try to keep the mint numbers, we'll do it. But otherwise, it's probably not worth it.
Next question. Will we be able to see Splinterlands as Matic network in the future? And I think Matic is a Ethereum virtual machine. So are we going to be able to see like any Ethereum VM related chains where we can go post NFTs there?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, so people have said, are we going to be on Matic? When are we going to be Binance Smart Chain? When are we going to be on Near? When are we going to be on, like, there's like a list of probably 20 different things that different people want us to be on. And the answer is every single one of those is a pretty big project. So like Wax, months in the works, a lot of work, a bunch of people, because it's not just as simple as like throw up a smart contract and it's good to go. You have to, make sure everything's integrated into the game. You have to make sure the bridge is working. As some of there were issues that came up after we launched Wax, and I spent, that's why unfortunately I missed the AMA last week. I was spending all day, kind of dealing with issues and the Wax integration and getting that, working smoothly. So, these are all big projects. It's not just like, oh yeah, sure, we'll just throw it up on Matic or we'll throw it up on Binance Chain or whatever thing it is. So I would love to be on all these platforms, but it's really a matter of we have to like identify if there's a really big opportunity, like Wax was like a clear opportunity. We have Atomic Hub that wants to work with us. We have the Wax team that wants to work with us. It's clear that there's a big community. We've been seeing good numbers from them in the past. Like we were relatively confident that that's going to be a big benefit. So it was worth the effort to do that. With every other project, it also takes some time just to see like to evaluate the opportunity there. And that even just evaluating the opportunity on those platforms is a project that takes time away from other things. So, you know, I think we're always just like, we're keeping these in the back of our mind of like all these different platforms that we can potentially integrate with. And I think it's a matter of, if we just see like, wow, there's a real good opportunity on one of these platforms, you know, however that may be, then we'll look into like, okay, how can we get the resources necessary to do that? But I say, as for right now, there's not like current plans to make a bridge to any other platforms, you know, at the moment.
Dave was saying, if you can do separate battle system, can you have a freemium level 1 version of the wax chain where they don't earn DEC or cards, but instead win card art cards and other non-game related giveaways? The reason is because the collectors will have lots of level 1 cards they are keeping for collectibles, but they can experience the play of the game and develop a good newbie user experience. So, but let's broaden that to like, would we do card art cards as, you know, some kind of reward, where they're earning those instead of, you know, DEC, potions, or something else?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I think Aggroed hinted at that we're like looking into potentially doing something with card art NFTs. But as far as like doing a separate battle system on another chain, it again comes down to like, that's a big project, and is the opportunity, like, is what we get potentially for doing that project worth the amount of effort it takes to do that, you know, as compared to the other things we have to work on. Like, everything's opportunity cost. So if we say, okay, we're going to make a new battle system on Wax just to give some people the experience, you know, to play the game and, you know, win these different, you know, card art card prizes, like, is doing that whole big project, just basically building a separate little game, you know, what's the opportunity cost versus doing that as compared to what time that takes away from getting our land expansion done this year? You know, that's, I mean, you know, people are asking about all these other things. Can we do this? Can we do that? Can we do that? But like, the land expansion is a humongous undertaking. I mean, we're building basically an entire another game within our game, and that's going to take the majority of our focus and our resources over the year. And, you know, that's still in the design phase, so development hasn't really ramped up yet, but it's going to be starting very soon. So like, that's where a lot of our focus is going to be. And I feel that is our best opportunity to really grow this game much larger for a lot of reasons. So, you know, everything else we consider is going to have to be kind of like, is that going to take away resources and time from getting the land expansion done? And if it is in any significant amount, it's going to have to be like really, really good opportunity, you know, to justify that. So I don't like saying like, you know, my default answer is like, yes, all your suggestions are awesome that everyone has here. And we want to integrate with Matic, and we want to let people play with their cards on Wax in a separate version of the game. And we want to integrate with all these other platforms. But, you know, I think it's actually doing a disservice to you guys if we just go try to jump on every thing that comes up and not focus on like, what are the most important things to drive the future of the game.
Yeah, just having good ideas isn't enough. They really have to be exceptional ideas, or just critical to the game or something, because there's just not enough bandwidth. All right. Next question. Will we get another preview of the guild, or land, or graphics, or maybe both? The guild stuff is, you know, hopefully a month away before launch. So I'm imagining that we'll be testing that with Mavs in the not too distant future. And for the land, if Nate were here this morning, he's more of a late night guy, but typically when Nate's here, he likes to go show off some of the latest things. So we'll do that, but it's Nate that is typically preparing that.
We've been paying for a lot more land art, and I keep telling Nate that I'm not going to keep paying if he doesn't show me the art. But I haven't seen it yet, but it seems like there's a lot of art coming in. So, you know, maybe next week, or when Nate's on, he can show some of that stuff, and it'll be the first time I'm seeing it as well.
I'm not certain what they're asking here. Will there be a mobile update that can play events without login to the web
it's just
browser?
asking when tournaments are going to be added to the mobile app. So I don't know yet. That's still something that needs to be designed. But I mean, we do plan to add events into the mobile app when we can.
Yeah, it seemed like that was pretty high on his list. So I think we're working on getting the Apple rolled out, and then that's the next highest priority for mobile.
Yeah, what really comes down to Nate's priority as far as designing it. So he's been being pulled in a lot of different directions, like guild wars, land expansion, promotions that we've been doing, and stuff like that. So we have to get him time and availability to start designing that for mobile, and that's no small undertaking either. Which is why it hasn't been done to date. Getting all the tournament stuff showing nicely on a phone screen, is a difficult task.
All right. Jason Trier is asking, I guess it's a suggestion, show sale history of cards in the UI. This should really help the market pick up the sales. You can click a card, you see the sale history, you can show in both Hive and US dollars or whatever crypto you prefer.
Yeah, no, I like that. One of the issues with that right now is we don't have like an indexed and easy to query way to see history for cards. So that's, all the data is there and available, but it just needs to be like super, super quick to pull up the data for a specific card. But that's something we're going to need as part of like the rental market updates, which we're working on. That's also something I forgot to mention just talking about what we're working on in development. There's just more stuff than I can remember. But part of the rental system, and just dealing with cards potentially being transferred around more often as rentals expire or whatever, we're going to need to keep an indexable for quick lookup history of cards, just for things like, for example, if you enter cards into a tournament battle, an anytime tournament battle, and your rental ends or whatever between the time you submit your team and your team is revealed, right now that will count as a loss. But as part of the new rental system, it's going to check whether or not you had the card at the time you submitted the team versus when the team was revealed. So that will require an easily indexable history for cards and who had them at what time. And then I also plan to use that to show card history in the UI, and it can potentially not just be sale history, but rental market history or whatever, combine history, all that stuff, just the total history of everything that happened with that card. So yes, that is something I plan on doing in the near future.
So Dreamwriter is saying 150 accounts is not my idea of strong numbers. When you said the 150 accounts, was that Summoner Spellbooks, or is that just new accounts?
It was 166 was the number of new accounts that signed up over the last week, specifically using a Wax or Atomic Hub referral link.
But that's not the number of Summoner Spellbook purchases. That's the number of new accounts.
Right, and it was a bit over 20% that bought the Summoner Spellbook.
So, for perspective, generally we have, what is it, like 200 per day right now of new accounts signing up?
Yeah, roughly, I think. I'd say maybe like 180 on average. But I think his question, and this is something that I know Dreamwriter you've been pushing for a long time, is on the value of dark energy crystals going up. And I totally hear you, but the way dark energy crystals are structured, it doesn't really work that way. And this is not something we exactly planned or understood, I would say, at the initial launch of dark energy crystals. But basically, anytime the value of dark energy crystals goes up, a significant amount, since all the cards are backed by dark energy crystals. You can burn them for dark energy crystals. That always creates selling pressure in the market that pushes them down. And so there's sort of, there's in a way like they're sort of like a stable token in that there's value. If the price goes down too much, there's an arbitrage opportunity, right? If people, since we accept them at a certain rate in the shop, people will buy the dark energy crystals to spend in the shop and, kind of arbitrage the lower price. And if the price goes higher, it gets pushed down by people burning more cards. So I don't think, I hear what you're saying about, having a token that's kind of not stable in the game. And, trust me that when we say that that is something we are working on, and, as part of the will kind of be a part of the land expansion project, is building that all in, and new ways that, value can accrue in the game to the players. And dark energy crystals will remain as more of like a transactional currency with a relatively stable value. And it's interesting because I've noticed that dark energy crystals, their value is a lot more stable than a lot of these stable coin projects in the DeFi space. I think it's interesting, just looking at that from a how it works perspective, that we've kind of inadvertently, I think, made a pretty good stable coin system. And honestly, if we were focusing on that, it could even become more stable in the future, which I think is, there's a lot of value to having an actual stable coin. So I think that can be pretty valuable to the game and to the players as well, while also getting something that can hold the value and that encourages people to hold the token in a different way as part of the expansion. So, I agree with your overall goal of what you're looking for. I don't agree that using dark energy crystals is the way to do it. So I'd say just, hang in for a little bit more, and hopefully, we'll have some announcements that you like over the course of the year. Sorry for that very long-winded answer. Aggie, you there?
Oh, I'm pushing the wrong push to talk. Sorry. Biz is asking, what is the latest news about diesel pools on Hive-Engine, and have you decided on the reward structure yet? So the latest news is that diesel pools are live. Diesel pools are functioning. There's about 8 or 9 of them already out there. They don't have any fees. And I don't know, there's thousands of dollars worth of stuff that you can trade back and forth. The reward system built by Hive-Engine has not been released yet. I expect it to be released in about a week. And that's on the back end. The front end will probably take a little bit longer. But that dev is pretty quick. So have I decided on a reward structure yet? So the reward structure hasn't been released, and Matt and I haven't sat down to talk about what rewards would they be and where would they come from. But I think there's some interest in seeing Hive-Engine diesel pools supported.
Yeah, I think step one is we're going to wait till the rewards on the diesel pool on Hive-Engine are integrated, because we want to use their integrated reward system if possible. They'll take some work off us, to integrate it manually like we did for the Uniswap pools. So, and then my plan is I want to get player feedback on what we should do about the rewards, right? I don't want to go and say, oh, we're taking some portion of rewards away from Uniswap, unless, the players who are participating in Uniswap and or otherwise, are generally in agreement about it, right? So it's a little bit of a tricky situation. We came out and we said, okay, here's this reward structure on Uniswap over the course of the year. And then, obviously Ethereum gas fees have gone crazy, which we didn't anticipate. So we want to figure out how we can support. We don't want to totally get rid of the Uniswap pools. I think there's still value there. But we just want to figure out what's a good way that generally the player base is also in agreement with, to incentivize pools in a bunch of different places, and potentially new pools in the future. It could be we could get on on Binance Smart Chain and have pools there also. So I don't want to just figure out how we're going to do diesel pools. I want to figure out a general better structure for supporting any number of pools and any different platforms going forward, so we don't always keep running into the same issue. But so I don't have an answer for that yet, but it's something we definitely want to get community feedback on.
UniQM is just saying, hey, I may be in the minority here, but I would 100% rather see games features than integrations on other platforms. There are a bunch of people that seem to agree with that. Jarvis saying plans for swap pools and where diesel pools fits in. What kind of risk of adding liquidity on a pool that doesn't have fees? So you're in permanent losses there, and you're hopefully getting rewarded by tokens to go offset that.
Yeah, the risk should be exactly the same. Typically, on most pools, the majority of the returns don't come from the trading fees. It's just from platforms, incentivizing the LPs with some type of external rewards. So that's what Hive-Engine is doing, and that's what we also would plan to do with those pools. Add rewards just like we've done to the Uniswap pools.
Marson Pie is saying, have you considered partnering with Rplanet to stake the cards?
I think, didn't we talk about someone reaching out to Rplanet about that? Maybe Chris or Carrie or someone.
Is that Superworld or is that a different group?
No, Rplanet's on Wax. They're like a pretty. Maybe is that different than, is that Alien Worlds? I can't get. I don't know. I feel like it came up in a discussion at some point. But yes, we've considered, and in general, we try to reach out to like every, remotely successful project, especially on Wax, and see if we can work with them somehow. I don't have any specifics, and if that happened yet, we're definitely not at the point where we're announcing and doing anything. But yeah, we're going to try to see if we can work with anyone that we can.
Beehiver's asking, I gathered thousands of potions. Is there any way to add the ability to burn them for DEC or some other way to get some value out of them?
So this has come up a lot. I'm not going to say no, because we don't know necessarily what will happen, but the whole kind of idea of potions and giving potions out as rewards was to encourage people to buy packs in the game. So you have all these potions sitting around, and we're hoping that it encourages people to buy packs. We do rely on pack sales for, sustainment of our business and, being able to pay our employees and grow the game and all that stuff. So, it is important for us to try to promote that. And, potions are one way to do that.
Question, did you consider tying MAV status to owning certain amounts of land, say a region, as well in the future? I'm not the booster buying packs person, but I still have a pretty big stake in the game. I've been asked a bunch of questions about getting a landowner's version of the Mavericks going. I want to wait until Q2 for that, to sort of have that roll out so that you know who actually owns the land, not just the land stuffers trading, but who actually owns it. And basically who's redeeming it. But I also need to hear back from the dev to see what his availability is to sort of automate some of that. So it's a little bit on hold. It is on my brain to kind of update these things.
In general, the Mavericks program has always been a very loose structure where, it's just kind of put together on Discord, separate from the game itself. It's not like built into the game or anything like that. It's more just been, I know we have like some type of requirements, but it's been pretty loose, and it's really just like our most active players and community members who have, bought a reasonable amount of products in the game. I think going forward, it definitely makes sense, and we definitely want to have that be like an actual structured part of the game. So like you do with certain actions or have a certain amount of things in the game, and you automatically get a certain status. And it may be tiered. It may not be just Mavericks. Like, there may be something similar to what Mavericks is now. And then there may be also like a higher tier for land region owners or whatever. And that could be also ideally displayed in some way in the game, like you get some different type of, avatar frame or something, or, it could be with titles. One thing we've also had planned and, started working on to some degree is we have titles that go after your name. So like the Explorer or the Untamed, whatever. And there's also the possibility to have like titles that go before your name. So you could be like Squire, Aggroed, the Untamed, and you possibly go higher. So like maybe region owners could be, something Lord Byzantinus or whatever. So, we've kind of had all these ideas floating around. And I think as part of the design of the land expansion, like all this stuff is going to be factored in together, because we don't want to just go and do something like that and then have the land expansion where we realize, oh, we should have done it a different way. So I think we're trying to incorporate like many, many different things that aren't, necessarily like part of the land itself, but just different things that affect the whole game, like these type of statuses in with the land expansion. So it's all one unified, well-designed system. I hope that makes sense.
That kind of answers the next question too of, what's the bigger picture for Mavs and restructuring? So
yeah, I also just wanted to go back real quick about the diesel pools. So regardless of, I don't know what might happen or how we're going to structure rewards for LPs, but Splinterlands is planning on putting up more liquidity ourselves, just so, players can trade. Like, as far as trading is concerned, it doesn't really matter where the liquidity comes from. I know a lot of people would prefer to provide liquidity to the diesel pool rather than the Ethereum pools, so they can, add and get out without the fees. And so I'm not saying we're not going to add, incentives there, but I'm also saying, aside from the incentives for people who are interested in just a place to be able to trade Hive and dark energy crystals, Splinterlands is planning to add additional liquidity, so there'll be, you'll be able to trade larger amounts there without affecting the price as much.
Shibway's asking, do quests reset the same time every day? Should they?
No. So as Matt Clark answered, it depends on when you start the quest. So so if it's 23 hours after you start the quest, you can request a new one. If you already quested a new one, it'll reset after 23 hours, or you'll get a new quest if you completed your quest at that time.
She was asking if they can be added back to Mavs. If you left the server, you just need to re-register with the bot, and it should be automatic. Jason's adding, you need really big DEC syncs. Another one is coming with guild tournaments.
I mean, yes, we plan to add lots of DEC syncs. I mean, I think we've talked about the land expansion, guild wars. There's going to be a lot of DEC syncs, but there's also going to be increased DEC rewards, right? We talked about a new ranked ladder pool potentially with Chaos Legion and like a modern format. So, I would say, and again, this isn't necessarily how we originally designed dark energy crystals, but I think it actually works a lot like a seigniorage token. So, for those who aren't aware, you can like Google seigniorage crypto tokens, like Empty Set Dollar is an example of one, and there's a whole bunch of other ones where they're meant to be stable coins, and players earn value, or in those cases not players, but people, users of the system earn value when the value of the stable coin goes up, when more money is coming into it. Basically more get printed, so people earn more tokens rather than the value of their tokens going up. And that's called seigniorage when the new tokens are created. So that's kind of like, as it stands, the plan for dark energy crystals. There's going to be lots and lots more syncs added and added and added, but we don't want it to be a situation where the market price goes up a ton, because that just encourages people to start burning lots of cards, which is also a bad thing for the game. So the idea is, as there's more demand for dark energy crystals, there will also be more dark energy crystals given out as rewards. So players, even though the value of your dark energy crystals themselves may not be increasing, you'll be earning more of them. So the result should still be the same, in that players get more get more value out of more money coming into the ecosystem. But like I mentioned before to Dreamrider's question, I think separately it's great to have tokens that, you know, have the potential to appreciate in value. Our cards are that. Our land is definitely going to be that, hopefully even more so than the cards, because they're going to be significantly more scarce. And we have a bunch of other things as part of the land expansion to kind of hopefully handle that side of things. So it's hard to talk about it without being too specific, and we're not at the point where we can be specific right now. But we do, like, be assured that we think about these things all the time. I have lots of spreadsheets and models about exactly how dark energy crystal economies work, how other token economies work, and, you know, where the potential issues are, you know, with different ways that they can be structured.
Yeah, I agree with everything Matt just said. All right, Jarvis adding, how does the Hive-Engine diesel pool reward structure work? It's not fully coded. That'll be released hopefully by the end of next week. But roughly speaking, you know, if you contribute, then you'll get rewarded. It's still more of the lottery system than just like the absolute everybody gets something. That's part of the limitations of Hive-Engine. But, you know, there should be, my guess is that there'll be 40 winners per hour, and it'll be pretty close over like a 1 week period to even distribution. But we'll see. So hey, we need to go right at 10 because we have a call after this. So I don't think we probably don't want to take more questions after what's already here. And then we also need to go figure out the next time. Do you want to do 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern next week, Matt?
Sure.
All right.
So that would be Friday, March 5th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. UTC.
That's correct. All right. The system says the account's already registered. Yeah, if he should just try to re-register once. If registration doesn't work, I'm happy to give it back to Shu. He's not like punished for leaving the server. It's just my preference is do the automated thing first, and if that's not enough, then come back. UniQM, question on the point about the quest starting time. The last part of the question wasn't addressed. Can we change quest time so that they always refresh at a set time? It's so frustrating not having a quest ready for me when I jump into play every day. Yes, I've already had people tell me I should just wait to play at the same time. This isn't human-centered design. I've experienced both, and a set time is vastly superior. Gets off opinionated soapbox.
I guess. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but I haven't really spent any time looking into the differences, or if at the end of the day, if like the majority of the players, did something just happen? I just got a weird notification. Can you guys still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Okay, great. Anyway, I'd say if the majority of people feel that way, then fine. But also, it's like if, you know, they start at a specific time, you know, people play from all different time zones around the world. So, you know, maybe is it something now that like it starts at different times for different people, you know, but it's a set time for you. Like, you know, for you, it could be 12 noon every day, but for someone else, you know, it could be 12 noon their time. I don't know. So it could get complicated. So I'm not opposed to doing anything, you know, that players think is better. But, you know, I haven't heard a ton, you know, from players requesting that or, you know, thought through how it might work. So if you want to kind of lead that campaign and, you know, see if there's a lot of support for it, that would be fine with me.
Karina wants to know if we're going to add whales and not just sharks, or I would argue krakens and other deep sea behemoths. Do you see whales
as characters in the game?
Yeah, like you know, you summon a whale, you summon Moby Dick or something.
Well, there's orcas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't come up with characters, so don't ask me. You know, Chris and Carrie and you, Aggroed, I guess, and the artists, they come up with the characters, and I just put them in. So I'm good with whales.
Okay, and then is there Can you say? I'm sorry, it's bopping around. Can you say that the uni pools are not going to change over a long time? I'm thinking about getting into the DEC DAI uni pool, but worried it could change in short notice.
Well, yeah, that's the issue with just going ahead and changing things up to add new pools. I mean, there's a lot of value to having new pools and incentivizing people to participate in them, but at the same time, we don't want to go and just change things up with the Ethereum pools, which we already have done once with the addition of the DAI pool. I would say from that perspective, it might be good to wait, a couple weeks around, and we're hopefully going to have just a better overall plan for how to handle any number of pools that we may want to be a part of, in a way that everyone can be comfortable that it's not gonna change. But ultimately, I mean, still, even if we leave things as they are, your rewards, if you enter a Uniswap pool, could change drastically based on what other people do. So if a lot of people start adding liquidity to the pools, that will change your rewards. And similarly, if we, one thing, like let's say we take some rewards away from a Uniswap pool and add it to a Diesel pool. If a bunch of people also leave the Uniswap pools and move their liquidity to the Diesel pool, then your rewards in the Uniswap pool could actually increase, right? So, these are all part of the things we want to consider when doing this stuff. But I'd say we, as I mentioned, we don't have that figured out and planned yet.
Is there a plan to release a governance token or any other in-game token?
I don't want to comment on that right now.
All right, no comment that is. I guess I don't want to take too much time for diesel pools, but one last thing I'll add is that the right after we do the rewards piece, the next contract that I want to go put in place there is like a DAO. And so if everything goes according to plan, then in the beginning, project owners could incentivize one token pool pretty easily, but over the longer term, what they could do is say, all right, players or users or ecosystem participants, 10% of the token inflation goes into this fund, and you guys as stakeholders can determine where it goes.
Well, just to be clear, you're talking about a Hive-Engine.
Correct.
So this is not a Splinterlands thing he's talking about. It's a Hive-Engine thing.
No, but that what I am trying to add is that if there are pools for that and there's any kind of process going forward, I mean, one possibility is that players get some say in where future rewards go. That's not determined, but that's
what rewards are you talking about?
Like some inflation. So
inflation of what token?
I'm talking generally from Hive-Engine. So anybody should be able to go spin up a DAO and put their token into it and go assign rewards.
So you're saying we could put dark energy crystals into a DAO on Hive-Engine, and
then players, based off of owning some token, could determine which pools actually get funded. And then in addition to that, not only would that be DEC, but if any other pool decides that, hey, this is valuable to the ecosystem or they want to attract players, they could also incentivize their tokens into that pool as well. So one of my ideas is that the B token should act like Uniswap, and there should be incentives into all these different pools to go stake tokens into it, and that incentive would be the B token. So you might find that
sort of like how in Pancake Swap you earn cake, for different pools. So maybe it's possible with the DEC pool and Diesel pools you could earn B or another token outside of Splinterlands.
In addition to Splinterlands, if Splinterlands decides to do it. And that would be, and every single community that has a token could decide for themselves, do they want to incentivize that liquidity pool? So, if they see some whales and they're like, I think those whales would be a good fit for our ecosystem, why don't we start sprinkling in some rewards from our ecosystem to see if they want to go participate over here too? And hopefully that gives people some ideas of how what those diesel pools are doing, how that reward structure will look like initially, what it will move to, and with that structure in place, people that are participating from this ecosystem, specifically in the DEC swap.hive pool, might actually get rewarded in more than one token type.
Yeah, so this is all also part of the reason why we don't have a specific plan to share with you yet. There are lots of ideas and lots of ways this can be structured, and we don't want to come out with a plan and then have to go back and change it a week later, because some of these new options are available. So we really, at this point, we really want to take our time, figure out all the options, and create an overall plan to allow incentivization of an unlimited number of pools across any number of platforms going forward.
Rock on. All right, we're going to call it a little bit early. Thanks, everybody, for being here. This game is only made possible by you, the player, participating in the game, trading cards in the game, posting your stuff to Wax, and then, broadcasting to friends, family, coworkers, and investors that, hey, Splinterlands is a neat place to park some cash, play some games, and have some fun. So, thanks for being here. Thanks for helping Matt and I live the entrepreneur's dream of putting together a game. We will see you next week at 2 p.m. and 2 p.m. Eastern. And thanks, everybody, for being here. Anything else, Matt?
No, that sounds great to me. Like Aggroed said, we got to jump a little early because we have another call to take. But yeah, we'll talk to you next Friday.
See you guys. Thanks, everybody.